time for another installment of Oh My God.
Hi, welcome to this week's episode of the Oh My God segment for the Jimmy Dore Show. Now, I'm joined as usual by the seventh place winner of the, well, he took seventh place for the Robert De Niro Lookalike Contest. All right, Steve Rosenfield, former writer for The Daily Show, and hilarious comedian Steve Rosenfield. Next to him from Turner Classic Movies, it's Ben Mankiewicz. Hey, Ben, how are you?
Jimmy, what's going on, boys?
Good to see you. Now, guess who's up today? Guess who's up today in the Oh My God? Because in the Oh My God segment, if you don't know, we play a clip usually from a religious person, and then we make fun of them. That's how it works, huh? So,
it's comedy.
It's called comedy. So here we're going to go Glenn Beck's show, right, on The Blaze. And so he had on this guy named David Barton. Now, David Barton is on Time Magazine's list of America's 25 most influential evangelical Christians. Top 25. And what is he famous for?
His official bio describes him as an expert in historical and constitutional issues. So
he's an expert in historical.
He's a historian.
Because he wrote, so he's an historian. He wrote a book. He wrote a book called The Jefferson Lies. And the History News Network voted David Barton's book, The Jefferson Lies, the, quote, least credible history book in print.
Because it's lies, get it?
It's
all
least
lies.
credible history book in print. That's this guy.
That's awesome.
He took the gold.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, when you hear him tell this story, perhaps you'll see why.
Okay, and by the way, the book publisher is called Thomas Nelson Book Publishers. They're the largest publisher of Christian books, and they decided to stop publishing and distributing his book. How shitty is your book when a Christian bookseller drops you?
Yeah, and you're like a Glenn Beck favorite, and they're dropping you.
Yes, you're Glenn. You've got access, right?
Yeah,
so here he is. That we're talking about guns this week, right? So here he brings David Barton on. Glenn Beck brings him on to tell a story to help illuminate what we need to do to fix our gun problems. And let's enjoy it.
You take us into the late 1800s. There are school shootings.
There's attempted shootings.
Yeah, they're not school shootings. Well, the gun's fired, but they're not fired the way we think.
Right. The great example in the 1850s, you have a school teacher who's teaching a guy, and he's out in the West, a guy from New England has been searching for him, wants to kill him and find him. So he comes into school with his gun to shoot the teacher. He decides not to shoot the teacher because all the kids pull their guns out and pointed at him and said, "You kill the teacher, you die." He says, "Okay, teacher lives." Real simple stuff. Saved the life of there was no shooting because all the kids, and we're talking in elementary school, all the kids pull their guns out and says, "We like our teacher, you shoot our teacher."
And there wasn't...
First of all, let me just say, I'm super sure that actually happened.
Yeah, that story doesn't sound made up at all.
At all.
Yeah, look, if you're going to make up a story like that, humor us and make up their names, too.
Yes.
As a teacher from New England, Tommy O'Sullivan, that was his name. It was 1857. He was out in Colorado, and this guy came looking for him.
And he was wearing a yellow kerchief.
Right. Jake Delahanty, he was a gunslinger. Just come on.
So then Glenn Beck says, "Wait a minute! You give all these kids guns. What is that? Is that a smart thing to do? What about the accidents?"
There wasn't shooting. Kids did not shoot each other.
Oh, no. Again, 2 accidents I have seen in 200 years of everybody having guns. It just didn't happen.
Yes, kids never. That's the beautiful thing about kids. Kids never shoot each other when they all have guns.
Never.
You know why? Because kids are never completely irrational or lacking in self-control.
Doesn't happen.
Doesn't happen.
Never happens.
Yeah.
With a loaded gun.
Elementary school kids had a gun in his fairy tale story. Yeah, and I'm sure not one time did a kid take another kid's milk and that kid shot him in the head.
Or to show off, shoot somebody.
Yeah.
Or bullies,
Right.
which you never see in school.
Never see that. Not in the Old West. Not when there was no bullying. When kids had guns, they were afraid to bully.
Yeah, they were afraid. And by the way, when searching for examples on how we should function in the 21st century, you need to go back to the 1850s when there was no law enforcement around for millions of miles.
Right.
That's how we.
There was just guns then, really.
Yes, that's exactly. Let's look. How did people live 150 years ago? How did they handle it? Let's handle it exactly like that.
Let's copy that exactly.
Yeah, remember when there was no running water?
Yeah, because there wasn't any violence in the Old West.
No.
Yeah, not after the Indians voluntarily gave up all their land and peacefully assembled themselves in communities across Arizona and New Mexico.
That's exactly
It worked
right.
out.
Yeah, it worked out
It
fine.
all worked out.
Yeah.
We're going to keep going with David Barton in the Oh My God segment here, because David Barton, they're talking about the Lincoln movie. Now, Glenn Beck has seen the Lincoln movie, and he thought it was very important, but he wants to ask David Barton his opinion on the Lincoln movie.
Did you see the Lincoln movie?
I did not. I wrote a review on it, but the profanity drove me off.
The profanity.
Okay, I want to get back.
Profanity, I
He
love
wrote a
that.
review of the movie, but he hasn't seen it. And why should conservative, why change now? They love the Constitution. They've never fucking read that either, right? So why go see movies to review?
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie, but then eagerly admits, but I did write a review of it. Yeah, and he didn't see it because of the profanity. Look, I've only seen Lincoln one time. I don't remember it being a particularly profane film.
I didn't see it. Is there swearing in that movie?
Lincoln tells one joke with the S word in it.
He says
it-
shit?
is that right?
He does say shit, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I get it then. Why?
Yeah.
How could you possibly sit through that?
And that man was president. It's
4
appalling.
and 7 fucking years ago, he said. Yeah.
I'm sick of this fucking war.
I'm sick of this fucking war. Yeah. Just free the fucking blacks. I don't care. I don't want to fucking talk about it anymore.
Get it done.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So here we're really good. So here he goes. He's got more to say about Lincoln.
It's a remarkable movie, and I wonder, I'd love to talk to somebody like you to see how much of it is real.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to somebody who hasn't seen the movie so they can explain to me how accurate it was.
And whose books are crap.
And whose books are crap. Yes, sir.
Because he was very, in this movie at least, very conniving. He worked the system. I mean, he was very Barack Obama.
Abraham Lincoln, very Barack Obama, I'll tell you.
By the way, great.
Yeah,
great.
really.
Best compliment ever paid to Barack Obama.
right.
Here's what Barack Obama isn't: Abe Lincoln-like. Yeah.
Why would Obama want
Yeah.
to be like Lincoln?
Yeah.
Of all the presidents, why Lincoln?
Our most beloved president.
He worked the system every way he possibly could.
Yeah. And that's a problem that was also in the movie, because when you look back to the passage of the 13th Amendment, it wasn't the wheeling, dealing kind of backroom deals and smoke-filled. It didn't happen that way. You had and great proof that it didn't happen is the vote that happened on passage. It wasn't like a close vote that I've got to get some extra votes and I got to wheel and deal. It was slam dunk, big time. I mean, it was an 80% vote going through Congress.
Okay, so that's all half true, but mostly bullshit, and I'll tell you why. Do you want me to tell him why, Ben, or you want to tell
I
him
have
why?
some of it. Let's go. You start.
Well, I'm going to tell him why, because in order to pass an amendment,
There you go.
you need 2/3.
That's right.
You need 2/3 vote. So that's why it has to be an overwhelming vote, you jagoff.
Yeah.
You can't. So they needed in this Congress, they needed 109, they needed 116 votes. They got 119. So they got 3 extra votes. So it was close.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look close when you look at it because they needed 2/3.
Yeah, they needed 113 actually.
113?
Yeah, they had 7 extra votes. It wasn't 80%. They needed 67%, 2/3. They got 68%. It sailed right
Sailed.
through. Yeah, there was no pressure at all,
Yeah.
none at all. And Lincoln passed the 13th Amendment in between when he was reelected in 1864, before the new Congress was sworn in March, because he wanted it to be bipartisan. He could have waited until the new Congress was sworn in, and it definitely would have passed. But he thought it was important to have Democrats involved in this. That's why he needled it through at that time with the old sitting duck Congress. Most of them had lost anyway, offering him patronage jobs. Everybody knows that there was sort of backroom politics and patronage jobs and all kinds of stuff like that. And again, as you said, 68%.
Yes.
1% above what it needed to
And
be.
Glenn Beck's historian gets it all wrong.
When it passed in the Senate big earlier in 1865, even 1864 actually it passed 38-6 in the Senate. At that time in the House, it lost 93-65. It was defeated. Didn't come close to 2/3. Barely less than 60%.
Really?
Yeah. So
And so again, he's even more full of shit than I thought to begin with.
more full. He couldn't possibly be more full of shit.
Again, the least credible history book in print.
And he didn't even see Lincoln.
He didn't even
the
see
movie. Wrote a review of it.
Wrote a review. So he's got a little bit more to say. Here we go.
So it's not like I was having to do backroom deals to get support. It went through
Holy
Congress.
cow, David. I wish now I had unseen that movie I wish I could unsee it.
It's funny that a guy who actually had saw the movie wishes it made a guy who didn't see it made him wish he hadn't seen it. Now maybe David Barton will go see it and then he can unsee it.
Yeah, usually you haven't seen the movie and you rely on someone who has seen it to determine whether you should see it.
This is exactly backwards.
They flipped it. Yeah, they've completely flipped it.
Hey, I'm thinking of going to see that movie I've seen already. Now, you haven't seen it, right?
Right.
Should I see it?
Should I unsee it?
Did I like it? Tell me if I liked it.
I thought I liked it. Now I hated it.
By the
but
way,
just in retrospect.
I now want to do on our movie review show, What the Flick, occasionally have 3 people come on who haven't seen the movie.
And review it.
And review it, totally,
review
yeah.
it. And then you can decide.
We can call it the David Barton Show.
Yes!
Yeah,
Let's
there it
do the
is.
David Barton Show where we review movies we've never seen.
This has been Oh My God.
Oh my God!